comment, a like, something so we can see who's hopping on. Let me know if you're joining live or on replay. And stay tuned till the end. We'll have a prize at the end. Hi, Jaya. Nice to see you again. We're gonna go over some nutrition facts, like reading nutrition facts labels, and looking at the front of the package and looking at health claims and just kind of understanding a little bit more of what kind of claims and stuff are on food labels. But as you guys are joining along, let me know just where you're at. Let me know where in the world you're coming from, just so I can get a reminder, see where you guys are coming from. I'm here in California, so this is Orange County area, California. So pretty sunny, good weather so far. It's been pretty different these last few days, but a lot better so far. All right, so for the nutrition facts labels, Orlando, nice. Hey Laura, good morning. Turning in from Las Vegas. Yeah, Las Vegas, a lot of winds, a lot of weird weather so far, right? A lot of weird things happening. But let's just get started with the nutrition facts labels, because I heard some comments that you guys wanted to hear a little bit more understanding how to read the nutrition labels and understanding like the health claims and the stuff that you see on the front of the packages. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to do something a little different, or I'm going to put some PDF, like some PowerPoints, so we can go over some visuals so you guys can see what I'm talking about. And that way you guys can get a better understanding of what I'm saying, because this is a lot of visual stuff, looking at food labels, looking at claims. So we're going to try to clarify a little bit more on all that. So hang in there with me. Let's get started. Okay. All right. So these are just like the rundown of the things we'll go over today. We're going to be understanding health claims on the front of the labels and reading the food labels too. From the front of the package, the nutrition facts labels in the back, and then I'm just going to give you guys a dairy example, a meat example, a cereal, and I actually didn't have much time for the oil and the nut butter, but we're just going to go over some examples so you guys can get an idea of what I'm talking about and what changes are happening on. So can go on to the next slide. Okay, so health claims. So these are claims that are made on front of the packages. So who's seen these? There's a bunch of examples down there. Heart healthy, 100% natural, fat free. These are all health claims that are placed there by the manufacturer. So whoever's making the product or the food, they are putting this on front of the label. And usually this is what most customers will see, right, when they're walking down the aisle. But honestly, there's some of them are approved by the FDA, but there's actually only 12 that are approved health claims. Good morning, Maria. So these are the ones I want you guys to look out for. There's a lot of unregulated like food claims, like health claims that are made on the front of the packages. A lot of them could have a lot of truth to them, but there's 12 that are approved by the FDA. And some of the examples of those are calcium and vitamin D for osteoporosis, sodium and hypertension, high fiber containing grains and fruits. So if you see any of those health claims that mention these, those are the 12, one of the 12 that are approved by the FDA. So those are the ones that have a lot more evidence behind them and are actually like some truth behind them. So if you guys want, there's a link there you can check out later. But it just kind of mentions more about these health claims. So there's going to be a lot that you'll see on the front of the package. But the important thing here is to look at the front and start like investigating a little bit more. If it says 100% whole grains, check out the ingredient list. Check out the back of the package as well. That's just a start. When you're looking at the food label and you're looking at the front, I usually just tell my clients it's just like a start of where you start investigating your food and see what it truly has, because that what you want to see is really in the back of the label. So we could go on to the next slide so we can see some examples. Okay, so just because a food contains a specific nutrient, it doesn't mean it has a decreased risk of a disease. So what I mean by that is there are specific nutrients that the claims make on the front of the package, right? I'm sure you see lower cholesterol, lower in fat, and those are sometimes linked to like heart healthy or certain disease states. But just because a food has that claim, it in that it is all healthy. The whole food is healthy as a whole. So take that with a grain of salt. Like an example is breakfast cereal. You'll see some they'll say, high in fiber, very low in sugar and heart healthy. But there's definitely other things that they aren't placing on the front of the package that the manufacturer doesn't want you to put on there, or doesn't want you to see. That's why investigating and looking at the nutrition facts label on the back is going to be really important, because it might be lower in cholesterol and low in fat, but it might be super high in added sugars. But they're not going to claim that in the front of the package. So another example that that I thought was pretty funny was this Cocoa Crisp, claiming increased and boost in immunity. It just said helps now support your child's immunity and boosts it by 25% or something like that. And they're just making claims based off the vitamins and the micronutrients that they're adding to these cereals. So don't just think of it as like a start where you investigate a little bit further. So just so you guys understand that they're making claims for specific nutrients, specific things, but doesn't mean the whole food as a whole is generally healthy as a whole. That's what I'm trying to get to there. Any questions? Anybody confused so far? Give me questions and I'll try to get back to them as soon as I can, or at the end of the video too. At the end of the live, I'll try to answer as much as I can. So we can go on to the next slide so we can see more on nutrient claims. So the content of the food. So there's going to be a difference. There's the amount. So the nutrient content claim tells you the level of the nutrient. So you might see some that say 100% whole grains, and those are like implied like things that are usually true. So when I'm telling my clients to look for bread, look for cereals, look for whole grains, you want to make sure that that number is on there, the 100% whole grains. That's a good indicator of something is implied, that it's almost 100% or almost entirely the first ingredient. So you also want to look at the ingredient, make sure that's the first ingredient. So what you can do is compare and use these nutrient claims like the low fat or lower in cholesterol to compare two ingredients. So like the yogurts you see at the bottom, if there's two yogurts that look the same but one says lower in fat, like as a health claim at the front, then that it's just like to compare. It's usually that's what the purpose are. It's just to compare products and make sure that they're that you look at which one from the front, just you can tell which one is lower in fat. But that's why investigating and looking into the ingredient list is that's much more important, so you can really see how much of that fat or how much of that ingredient is in there. So that's just the reason why we have those. Okay, so nutrition facts labels. This is the back. So this is the nutrition label that you see on the back, right? So the big things that you'll see is the serving size and the calories, right? Those are the ones that stand out. But we need to keep in mind that the serving size is not a recommendation, not for everyone. It's not telling you this is how much you should eat of this food or this portion. It's just a measurement for reference points, something that you can use to to measure and to have an idea of how much that serving has. So don't take it as like a recommendation that you need to follow, but just like a point of, okay, this is how much protein, how much calories this food has. Just take it from there. So that's the. We can go on to the next slide. So some changes. Recently, there was a few years ago, there was a few changes to the food label that that you might not have noticed. They're kind of small, but some of them stand out. Like the calories. If you see the total calories there in bold, that was highlighted. There's a larger calorie number on there. The serving sizes are bolded too at the top. So one thing that happened is a lot of people were, for like a candy bar, a lot of people were thinking that the nutrition facts label, what they were seeing of the fat, the sugar, everything on there, was for the whole candy bar. But it wasn't being clear that at the top, the serving size might have said 2, might have said 3. So all of the ingredients on that list would have to be multiplied by 3, right? So if it said 10 grams of sugar, and the serving size was, there's 3 servings in that package, from the top that you see at the top left, then it actually had 30 grams of sugar. So a lot of these things were meant to make sure that the general population, that we can see what the serving size is, the calories per serving, and that's why those changes were made. And then at the bottom, I'm sure some of them you have seen the added sugars or the total sugars, but that's pretty new too. That is something that has been slowly been like enforced for a lot of companies to be making sure they add the added sugars. And the reason is that a lot of times they can hide a lot of the natural and artificial added sugars, right? There's examples I'm gonna share with you guys later on yogurts and milks and some of the dairy products that I see they sneak in a lot of added sugar. So the whole purpose of this was to make sure that the customer can see that this product has natural sugars, and the list at the bottom, it says added sugars too, that are not naturally in that product but are actually added to sweeten it and enhance the flavor more. So that's a new change that's happened with the food labels. And at the bottom, something that should have been revised a long time ago was they changed the nutrients that are added at the bottom. And usually these nutrients are the ones that most people are deficient in, that don't have enough of. And if you've seen before, these here are vitamin D, calcium, iron, and potassium. And these are the ones that the general population, a lot of people are deficient in. The last time it was revised, this is revised, but the last ones were like vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin C, a lot of nutrients that most people are not deficient in nowadays. So that was a change that had to happen, and it was really important to make sure that that there's these new nutrients, these new micronutrients, because these are the ones that most people are deficient in, that we need to replace. So these are the big changes, kind of like the changes that you'll see in the nutrition labels, right? It's kind of small, but it's good to understand and know, where things are and why things are like this. And we're going to get more into the daily value and using these numbers. So let's go to the next slide so I can show you guys. So how you should be using the percentage daily value. So that column on the right hand side, right? That column there shows you how much is in one serving of that food. So the recommended, like the bottom, you'll see that there's like on the food label it says 2,000 calorie diet. So for some people it could be less, it could be more, but it's just like a recommendation of the percentage of how much that food has for that serving of that food. So remember, those are just guidelines. There's just something to follow, but something that you can do with those numbers is look at the percentages. If it's 5% or less, it's considered a low amount of that food, like for a heart healthy diet, right? One that you want to do for weight management. You might want to look for foods that are less than 5% of the saturated total fats, cholesterol, added sugars, right? That's a good way to use that percent daily value for a heart healthy or weight management. Where I didn't notice. Awesome. Yeah. So there's a lot of there's a lot of different requirements for each person, but they're good guidelines. They're good guidelines for you to look at and follow. And then if it's higher, if it's 20% or more, that's considered high, right? It's over 20%. So the nutrients that have that percentage that you're looking more of, for example, foods that are good for bone health, that are more near 20%, like calcium, vitamin D, or you're looking for more fiber, you're looking for foods near the, over, a certain percentage. You want to make sure, you want to make sure that you're looking for those. So that percentage is just used to compare foods, and see which ones have more, which ones have less. Another example is products that are similar in like sodium, right? You might look at the sodium amount, or just look at the percentage. It's just a way to compare foods. Personally, I like to use more of the milligrams and look at the actual amounts, and that's what I usually recommend. But the percentage is another comparison, another like number to compare two foods. So if you have like a pasta sauce here with this amount of sodium, pasta sauce here, one says 10%, one says 20%, then that the 20% has a lot more sodium in there. So just use them for comparison, not for your recommendations, like how much you need. So on the food label, these are just more breakdowns. just to identify things. Lower in fat foods. If I'm not sure you guys can see this, it's kind of small, but I'll just go over it. The foods that recommended lower in fat are less than 3 grams. Foods lower in saturated fat are less than 1 gram. Foods low in cholesterol are less than 20 milligrams per serving. So you'll see the 20 or less. The low in sodium are 140 milligrams or less. So when your doctor or someone says, choose low sodium foods, they're talking about 140 milligrams or less foods. Foods considered a good source of fiber have 3 grams or more. And then foods with a low amount of sugar have 15 grams or less, but that's a very high number, 15 grams. I would say something near 5 grams or less is lower sugar. But those are just kind of more references for you guys to look out for on food labels. All right, so now we're just going to get some examples going so you guys can see what how we can break this down. So how much natural sugars would you say is in one serving of this Yoplait, like yogurt? So shoot me a comment. Let me know what is your guys' guess. The amount of natural sugars. I'm not talking about the total amount of sugars, but the amount of natural sugars that this yogurt has. So the added sugar should be the hint there. So I'll give you guys a few seconds to see if someone can give you a quick answer. Yep, 6. So 6 sugar. So it's actually 27. So I'll break it down for you guys here. 14. Yeah. So I'll break it down. There's gonna be. I think I exit this. Okay. So basically, when you're looking at the food label, right, the total amount of carbohydrates is the like umbrella. That's what it has total. Everything under there are carbohydrates. So under that, you're gonna see that the total amount of sugars in that whole product and the whole serving is 19 grams. So if you take 19 grams and you understand that 13 of the 19 were added, then you subtract 13 grams and you'll have 6. So yeah, 6 grams are from the natural like lactose of the yogurt. That's the natural sugars that you will find. The yeah, and there's more. The total amount of carbohydrates in the food is 27, but when you're looking at the list below it, it's breaking it down. So that's why that added sugars column was added, so people can understand that amount of sugar wasn't naturally in that yogurt. It was added. It was sweetened. And the ingredient list is another way to look at where foods are, because if they're on the priority, if they're first, second, or third, they're usually the higher amounts. But that doesn't give you the amounts of that food. So that's why food companies were now by regulated and by the FDA, right? Like they need to have that added sugars, so people know how much is sweetened in there. So that's just another tip, something that you can look out for when you're looking for yogurts with added sugars. I would say anywhere below the 2 digits, so 10 grams or less would be my recommendation. The general requirements for I think male or female is around 25, 29, if I'm correct. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's around there. It's less than 30 grams for sure of added sugars or sweetening, like sugar per day. So you can see how that can add up really quickly. So that is the yogurt one. Let's go on to the next one. So next we have the meat. So this is like a meat example. These are chicken thighs. So how much total fat per serving for one serving of these chicken thighs would like this have? What would a chicken thigh have? So this one should be pretty straightforward, pretty simple. So we have the total fat. So this one's pretty simple. It's 8 grams. I'll just mention it here. Yep, Maria, good job. 8 grams. So again, under that list, you're going to see the breakdown. So everything under that list is added up to make up the total amount of fats. So something like chicken thighs, right? It can be more fatty if it has skin. It's a darker meat. So you're going to expect that the total fat content is going to be a little higher. I put a nutrition tip of something at the bottom. If you remove the skin, that can cut back a lot of that of the saturated fats. So saturated fats from animal meats usually are the ones that we're trying to cut down and not have too much of. So a good tip that you can do is buy the ones with the skin and just take off the skin, and you can save, because usually they're double price if you get the skinless and boneless chicken thighs. So that's just another tip. So saturated fats from meats is something you want to control. Make sure you're adding more of the saturated fats maybe from other plant sources, but not so much from animal products. Some is important, but I'm just something that is consecutive too much is something you don't want to have too much of, on a daily basis. Mostly, if you're looking out for a heart healthy diet, you want to look for more monounsaturated, polyunsaturated fats, and those come more from plant and seeds. So not so much from animal products. All right, so that's that one. The next one is a cereal or pasta. I think I had a pasta on here. So how much net carbs would one serving of this protein pasta have? This is just an example of one of those pastas that have like added protein to boost up the nutrition contents. So I put a little tip at the bottom. The difference between the total carbs of fat and the net carbs is the total includes everything, right? And the net carbs is what your body can digest and your body can use for energy. So that's a big difference. And in a product like this that has a lot of fiber, a lot of other carbohydrates, because fiber is also a carbohydrate, that's something that you don't include, right? So 25 grams. Yeah. So what you do for this one, for total amount of carbohydrates, it might look like this food has a lot of carbohydrates, right? 38. It's kind of small. Let me see. 30. Yes, 38 grams. But 38 grams is the total. That includes the amount of carbs that you can digest, the fiber, the sugar, everything. So if we subtract the 12 grams of fiber, that your body doesn't digest those 12 grams of fiber. That's something that your body uses as, just to nourish your bacteria in your gut and clean your body. But that isn't something that your body uses for energy. So we don't count that. So you take off 12 grams of the fiber, and you're left with 26 grams. So in reality, this one serving of this pasta is actually 26 grams of carbs. So that's just something you can look out for. Usually this happens with foods that have a lot of added fiber or added like artificial sweeteners, because the list on the bottom of the total carbohydrates, you'll see they'll add fibers, sweeteners. You'll see a lot of that too. Maria, that's a good carb to fiber ratio, right? Yes, yeah, this is a really good high fiber food. This is 12 grams. Usually a higher fiber food like that are part of the FDA is more than 3 grams. So this is like, yeah, 4 times higher. Definitely a high fiber food. Maria, trying to remember the math. Yeah, so it's I'll go over. I'll review more. If you have more questions, we can always go over it again. But in generally, you just want to look at the breakdown of the foods. Just understand that everything under that bold, like the total carbohydrates or the total fat, the protein, anything under that is added up to add for that total. But always look out for foods higher in fiber like this one. And just know that a lot of the total carbohydrates on there it's not just carbohydrates that are gonna spike your insulin, spike your blood sugars, right? There's some in there that are fiber, that are artificial sweeteners that your body doesn't break down, and you shouldn't really include, and you shouldn't get too overwhelmed if it has a higher amount of carbs like this one here. So I think that was it. Yeah, I didn't have enough time to add the oil and the other one, but a good example I can give you guys is like avocado oil, right? That one, you'll see that the total amount of fat on avocado oil it might be like 16 grams, something high. But then the breakdown underneath, you'll see what it's made up of. You'll see the monounsaturated fat is really high because it's a really heart healthy monounsaturated fat. So that the numbers under it, you'll see the breakdown of the fat. So that's kind of what you want to look out for when you're looking for fats. You want to look for more mono and polyunsaturated fats, less of the saturated fats. So when you're looking at your oils, your butters, your the meats, a lot of animal meats are going to have saturated fats, but for the plant-based oils and butters, those are the ones you want to look out for the mono and polyunsaturated. Awesome, Jeff. So, they like to something we can eat. Yes, I mean, there's plenty. Yeah, there's plenty you can eat. Does anyone have any more questions on the nutrition facts labels? I tried to break them down. So I'm not a cereal eater, but if I was, what's the best cereal to eat that doesn't taste like cardboard? So cereal depends on your. There's some really good high fiber cereals. Um, if fiber, maybe you don't want a high fiber cereal. It's just, if you're getting plenty of fiber, throughout the day, and you're meeting your needs for that. You're eating plenty of fruits and veggies, and you're having whole grains. Maybe the a super high fiber cereal isn't what you want. Maybe you want something easier to digest. Maybe you're doing something in the morning that you don't want to be too heavy, or something like that. But looking for simpler ingredients, maybe just like a rice-based or a corn-based cereal, or a whole grain cereal. The thing you want to look out for is that there isn't a lot of added sugars into your cereal, because if there's one thing that ruins a cereal, it's added sugars. So I would look for cereals that have less than 10 grams. Let me show you guys one of my personal favorites that I like to have. Let's see. This one here, the Heritage Flakes. I'm sure if you guys can see that. Heritage Flakes. This is one of my favorites, just because it has low sugars. The added sugars is only 5 grams. It's got 7 grams of fiber, 1.5 grams of fat, and the ingredients are all whole grains. They're Corsana wheat flour, bran flour, whole wheat meal. So a lot of whole grains are in the ingredients when I'm reading them, and there's a lot less added sugars than normal cereals, and high fiber. So looking for cereals that just have those things. It doesn't have to be always high fiber, always low in sugar, but the low sugar one should be something you should be looking out for, because it's really easy to add up sugar. Is there a calculation that someone can do to figure out how many net carbs they should stay under daily to lose weight? So carbohydrates. So when you're breaking down your calorie requirements in your day, and you're breaking down the carbohydrates, it should be 40 to 60% of your total calorie needs. So let's just say, for example, your requirement is 1,700 calories, right? So 1,700 calories times, I'm gonna multiply it by 0.5 or 50%. So that's 850 calories divided by 4, because there's 4 grams of carbs per 4 calories per gram of carbs. That's 210 calories, or 212. So it can be anywhere around there, maybe 180, 240 grams of carbs. But you just go based off your calories. Whatever calories you have, then your carbohydrate requirements are going to be 40 to 60%, depending on a lot of factors. But 40 to 60% is the general requirement for that, for carbohydrates. And to lose weight, it's more of the calories that you want to more focus on, the calorie intake that you're having in your day, not just the carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are a piece of the puzzle. That's not the whole thing. You got to also look at your total fat intake, look at your protein requirements. Are you meeting those needs? That's also really important. Awesome. Any other questions? Anything else coming up for you guys? Any other roadblocks or barriers you guys are getting through? But nothing for now? Okay. All right. So thank you guys for watching. Okay. Thank you guys for watching here. I will catch you guys next time. We're going to have a winner today. Erin Stata, you are the winner, Erin. Good job. Congrats. And yeah, thank you guys for joining today. I will catch you guys next time, and have a blessed Saturday. All right, guys. Bye-bye.